Great day, great day, great day. It's me. It's me. Happy after Thanksgiving slash pre-Christmas slash Friday. It's YouTube day. So I am currently about to cut up some potatoes so I can make mashed potatoes from scratch. And we're gonna hang out and talk for a little bit. So yes, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I'm working on being more consistent when it comes to doing my videos. So and I think it's crazy because I am in an empowerment class currently, and it's every Monday. And then I'm also, I'm being more active on lives again with my friends, making new interactions and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. So I was on a live last night in particular, and this kind of inspired today's topic. And during the live, one of my good friends, he ended up discussing a story in his past, past experience or whatever. And while telling his story was very vulnerable, very transparent, it led to another participant, kind of saying to him that you should be careful of stories like this because it could trigger someone, and you never know what kind of headspace they're in and all this great stuff. And it's not the first time I've seen this particular person do, and they're a very sweet person. They're a very kind person, and I don't say this to judge them or bash them because that's how they feel, and I get it, the degree where they were coming from. But I say this because I've dealt with this so much in my own personal life where it's like people will tell me, you got to be careful of what you say or how you say because you don't want to offend people and all that stuff. But what I'm learning to realize is, nobody gave a damn about me when they were causing me these traumas. Nobody gave a damn about me when they were, and it's not to sit there and say I'm trying to hurt them, but sometimes you have to tell your story. And that's not saying tell everybody, because even me, like I tell my story openly about being HIV positive. I wasn't ashamed when I was doing what I was doing to cause me to catch it. And I tell my story not only as a black man, but a gay black man, to help warn other people so that they don't make the same mistake of trusting someone that's really, a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I tell my story in order to help other people, to show that it can happen to me. Even with me not having the best body, even me with not being like what's technically stereotypical what guys would look for, I tell my story from a place of, it'll help somebody. And again, I do it unapologetically, and I'm going to continue to do it unapologetically. And even then, that was my first time meeting this person. They did the same thing. You don't want to trigger. Mind you, I'm the person telling the story. I'm the person telling the story. I'm the person that's HIV positive, and I'm telling it from firsthand experience. And it's like, it was so crazy to me because even in that moment, it was just like, who are you to tell me how to tell my story? And my friend, I reached out to the next day and I was like, never be ashamed. And I want you guys to take from this, never be ashamed to tell your story. Never be ashamed to tell your life experiences or to express what you went through. Never be ashamed, because your story could help someone. Yes, sometimes it will trigger people. Sometimes it will take them down a memory lane of their own situations. But hopefully by hearing someone's story, it could promote them to pursue their own healing. And that's why I'm learning that even with my videos to be more transparent, to tell my stories, because mind you, my parents did the best that they could, and they did an amazing job if you ask me. Even with different things that were probably fighting against, they still made a lot of sacrifices for their children. However, just like their parents may have to them, their parents may have faulted in certain areas. I've always listened to my dad give credit to his parents. I've always listened to my dad give credit to his grandmothers. And my dad has told me stories, about his childhood. And I've embraced it to learn that, you have to tell those stories because it can push someone to pursue their own healing. And even like, here's the thing. Hearing my dad's story, it gave me a better respect for him. I've always respected my dad, but it taught me how to respect him, but also taught me how to love him, you know? And in my story, I do hope my family take the time to see it, because then they can know in areas where I find it hard to show how I want to be loved. It can help them learn how to, Telling your story can show your friends where to send the love they're trying to give you, you know? So, and sometimes it can show people in that moment where you're telling your story, it could also help people know where they need love at. A person can hear my story about being HIV positive and they can be struggling in silence. And they can take from my story and they can apply that and say, hey, let me go ahead and share with my friends so that I can properly get the support that I need. Because they'll see, all right, Russell did it, and Russell did it unapologetically, and Russell lives with it, and he's not ashamed. Not ashamed. So it can help people see they can go through what they're going through and not be ashamed. It's a lot of people walking around. And they don't realize they were victims to the circumstances, and they walk around carrying the burden as if they were the one that was in the wrong, because nobody has shown them that yes, you were mistreated, yes, you were mishandled, yes, you were abused, yes, you were lied to, yes, you were taken advantage of. They don't know, so they walk around not realizing, baby, you were hurt. Yes, this is why you do the things that you do, because you haven't healed in this particular area. My dad told me something, and it hurt my feelings, but it built me. And I've heard it multiple times, but when my daddy said it, it stuck in me, and I was like, damn. Because for my dad to say that he watches my videos, he listens, and he sees, that means he takes the time to hear his son out. But not only that, but he sees something that other people have said. And my daddy said, you have great topics, you speak very well, but you're not confident in real life. And I had my surgery, and I made the decision that when I got up from that table, it was like, fuck it, walk in it. And for my dad to see me share my stories and to take for that, and my dad knows me. I'm his child. Half of me is him. So he knows me. So, but to hear it, because he heard my stories, he heard what I was saying, he heard what I was doing, and then he took from it and said, son, this is where the problem lies. He didn't bash me. He didn't comfort me. It was one of those things to where it was kind of like, what are you doing? And it pushed this moment, and I was in a meeting at work the other day, and I spoke up on something that I normally wouldn't have spoke up on. And a manager that usually we sit down and we have conversations. And then we get into meetings and she's silent. Or she'd be like, you should bring something in the meeting. And then I bring it up thinking I'm going to have people behind my back. Mind you, I've learned at the end of the day, I'm in a lot of shit by myself. And I fight better by myself. Because I know at the end of the day, the ones that really ride for me, they're just as bad as me. But at the end of the day, I always sit there and say, it's not just me, but the people behind me. But baby, I'm a force and I'm a storm just like they are. And I fight a lot of battles by myself when it comes to certain situations. And that's okay, because you can't beat my ass. However, I sat and I looked at her, and it was like, I can't be disregarded. And I said, no, we're not going to. I said point blank, I said, we're not. And I said, you're not. And I was sitting there quiet. And I was like, I'm not about to be disregarded. No. And I had to go back and I said, we have to talk about this issue. We have to. Because we could talk, if one manager could bring up shit that makes no sense, that's a waste of time just to talk, make herself feel important, which the bitch is not. Let's talk about stuff that really is affecting the business. So, the manager that I thought would have stood with me, she was like, I don't want no parts. I said, you're lame. I said, you're lame as hell. I said, because this doesn't make any sense to me. And I said to her face, and I said, you said, and it's like, we had this conversation, you said you get quiet. I don't like that. And it's one of my other friends like, Russell, you give a damn, you're just gone. I said, no, it's just, I've given so much to let people feel like Not a matter of a competition, but I make people feel like I'm not as superior as I am. I'm not as smart as I am. And I pull back to make other people feel smart. And I pull back, and I'm not pulling back anymore. But it took sharing stories. It took sharing experiences. It took hearing experiences. It took hearing other people's stories for me to get it. And it's like, it's all in communication. You never know who your story can help. You never know. You never know. It could be, and I get it. Yes, it will trigger them, but you never know. Somebody may be on the brink of saying, I quit, I give up. And you could be that one person that makes them realize, no, it's not over it. Yes, you're worth it. Yes, they were wrong. Fuck them people. You're that person. You're smart. You're intelligent. You're great looking. You carry yourself well. Like, it's. And sometimes hearing someone's experiences can make them realize, damn, like, I didn't do nothing wrong. But it also shows us how we can love on our friends. My friend shared that story last night, and I learned now how I can love on my friend in a better way. How I can love on them in a way to where when they do certain things, I get that's your trauma speaking. And as a friend, I can sit there and say, hey, your trauma is speaking. Let's talk about this. Let's pray about this. Let's move. Let's work this out. Not move past it. Let's move through it. Let's do it. I'm in therapy, unapologetically. And my therapist takes great notes and it's like, Russell, what are you doing? Why are you sitting back and you like my name is Russell Cecil Squire III. My daddy, strongest man I know. My daddy is the strongest man I know. Strongest man I know. One of the best men that he's the best man that I know. Amongst other good men that my daddy's the best man that I know. Best man that I know. My grandfather, one of the flyest men I know. Another great man. Another great man. And I come from that. I am the grandson of Russell Cecil Squire Sr. I am the firstborn son, firstborn child, and firstborn son of Russell Cecil Squire Jr. And I am Russell Cecil Squire the third. And I burn myself with some water. Damn. But I carry it, and I never carried it with pride because I never understood what I came from. But then when I see how I move now in my strength and my honesty and in my confidence, I get who I am. And I move because I know who I am. But it took hearing other people's stories. It took me sharing other stories. And it took me sharing my stories for my dad to hear my stories and my experiences for him to sit there and say, hey, you're missing this in your real life. For me to apply it. Yeah. And even doing these videos, it shows the confidence is there. But I got to do it on and off camera. But again, it took me sharing my stories for it to come through and for it to process. So, I'm going to get back to finishing my meal. But I want to encourage you, never be ashamed to share your stories and your experiences because it could help someone else. And that's not saying get on a big platform and talk about it. That doesn't have to be your thing. But don't be ashamed to share your story with your friends, your loved ones. Don't be ashamed to do it. Don't. It could help someone. It could help you. And maybe getting it out could free you. It could free you so you don't have to wake up with the burden, carry it throughout the day, and sleep with it. But yeah, that's what I got for you guys. I'm thankful for every person who has liked, supported, watched. Those who watch in silence, those who show they're watching. I am so thankful. I am thankful for God giving me an opportunity to see me for me. I'm thankful for God taking the chance to there and say, I'm going to give Russell another chance because amongst many other chances, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for my parents. My parents, strongest people that I know. Strongest people, strongest man and woman on this earth to me. And I don't got to get along with them all the time without them. But getting along with them does not getting along with them does not mean they don't deserve their credit and their respect. But I love you all. I will see you all. I'm thankful for every person who stood up and helped, who's been here for me. Because it's been rough. Financially, it's been rough. And a lot of people have stepped up and helped me in a lot of ways, and I'm thankful for everybody. But I love you all. Happy holidays, especially those who struggled with grief during the holidays. It's rough for them. So love on your friends that are grieving. And it doesn't mean acknowledge them, but just give them some love. Some extra, just a little razzle-dazzle. But I love you all. I will see you all next week. Episode, whatever number this is,